911. What's your emergency? This is 911 emergency. What are you reporting
Welcome back, everybody, to We Speak Dispatch, and wow, do we have a powerful episode coming your way today. We're joined by some of the usual suspects. We got Doug with us and John with us, but we also brought on a field responder from law enforcement, and we're going to be talking about some of the questions between law enforcement and dispatch. So Adam, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name's Adam. I worked for a Southern California agency, about mid-sized agency, for 28 years, and I recently retired as a patrol sergeant.
Wow, congratulations on being promoted and retiring and all that good
done.
stuff. But most
Thank
of all,
you.
thanks for joining us today. We are going to have some fun. So before we get started, I'm just going to throw it to Doug and John real quick. Doug, you can go first. Just tell us a little bit about your law enforcement dispatching experience so we can kind of paint the picture for this episode.
Okay, so I just retired in December from a very large state agency where we dispatched state police all over the state of California. So I've had a lot of experience with that. So that was been my experience with law enforcement dispatching.
Okay, I work at a large consolidated PSAP. We cover an urban area and a metropolitan area, and so I've been doing it probably 20 or so years.
And for me, I dispatch at a consolidated police and fire, but not consolidated countywide agency. So we dispatch both as well. I'm no longer dispatching, I'm managing the center, but I did dispatch from 1998 to 2004 at the very same agency. So definitely can relate as well. So we're going to get it started right off the bat with a question that really generates a lot of conversation. And I'm going to kick it to Adam since he's joining us. Adam, how long on a traffic stop did your past agency used to wait before checking your status over the radio proactively?
It would probably be about 10 to 15 minutes. Usually, usually the officer would make the traffic stop on one channel and then switch to another channel to run wants and warrants. And so if they don't hear from the officer for that amount of time, then they will check them. But usually the officer's getting returns and you can hear them talking, so you know they're there. It's only if they're not talking for an extended period of time. And the other thing, our agency was, we had enough officers that it's not uncommon to check the officer when they're on a traffic stop, at least have another officer drive by them to see if they're okay. So that kind of, it was kind of extreme when we had to safety check it. Usually it would be if they forgot to clear themselves after the traffic stop to put themselves back 10-8 or something like that. But
yep, and 10-8 I'm guessing is available in your agency?
yeah.
Okay, John, what was your timer set to at your agency?
Our timer set by the law enforcement agency is 5 minutes on the initial check. So after 5 minutes, once an officer marks out, whether it's a double unit, single unit, 2 or more units, when they mark out based on that event type, the first expiration is permanently set at 5 minutes.
And is that for all call types, John, or just traffic stops?
Traffic stops.
Okay, Doug, what'd you have at your agency?
Well, here's the difference. My agency,
here we go.
Our officers did not call out all of their traffic stops. They would stop cars all the time and not tell us they're on a stop. So we would not have any idea. And when they did call out a traffic stop, it was usually because they suspected something. So then we would be checking periodically. No set time. There was no like, we have to check in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But if the officer came out and said, show me on a stop, that usually meant something's a little hinky right here and we better check on him quickly. So we would be checking or rolling another unit roll by. So, but they just didn't tell us they were on all these stops. It was kind of a bad idea. I've always said that from the very beginning, but that's just the way it was.
It's very interesting. The agency I work at is 10 minutes for a traffic stop. That's determined by the law enforcement agency. We're about the same, similar in size to Adams. So a lot of times the officers are rolling by and backing them up. We're very similar. My personal thoughts are that time frame should be quicker, more in lines of the 5 minutes. And when I teach this question and answer all over the nation, I've heard anything from 2 minutes to we don't check on them. So it really gives a very wide variety of answers, but knowing what your program is set up to, how quickly to check them and everything else. But here's an interesting question as well. We're going to just keep Adam. Adam, we're going to say it's one of your patrol officers and their shift ends at 2100 hours. A cold report call comes in with no suspect information. Happened about a week ago. They waited a week to call. And it is approximately 20, 30 hours, 30 minutes before the officer gets off duty. The next shift comes on at 2100. Does your dispatchers hold that call for the next shift to come on and let those officers get off on time? Or do they work up until the last minute and the dispatchers are supposed to dispatch them all the way up until their shift ends?
It depends. A lot of times, you could take a no suspect information report in 15 minutes. So I think it takes a lot of coordination between the supervisors of the team coming on and the supervisors that are already there, and talking that out and coming to an agreement before a situation like this would happen. For instance, the supervisor might get with me and say, hey, just to let you know, I want to do some extra training and briefing today, so we might run a little bit over. Okay, no problem. And then we'll take the report. But it's a lot of communication between sergeant and dispatch and hopefully getting to coming to an agreement before there's any issues with the officers having to, outwardly being negative on the radio about taking a call or something like that. Usually we try to nip it in the bud so there's not any kind of ill feelings between teams or stuff like that.
Yeah. John, what'd you have at your agency?
I was just thinking about the same thing. So we have shifts that overlap by about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So there's always another shift, at least that's on duty in the station, because even though their end time is, say, what'd you say, 2100 and a call comes in at 2030, those officers are in the station by 2000, 2015, wrapping up reports. Usually their other officers on the next shift are already on the street. So we would just dispatch them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doug?
I agree with Adam, because if it was that close to the end of shift, we would just check with the field sergeant. Hey, you want us to send this guy, or do you want us to wait till the other shift comes on duty? And it depended on the type of call. If it was, you said it was a cold call. So, cold calls can probably hold till the next shift comes on. So we would just normally check with the sergeant. What do you want us to do? You want us to send somebody or not? So
a very fluid situation for us. It kind of changes once in a while and goes back and forth, but we try to keep up on the demand so that we're serving the citizens the best we can as well. And we kind of use that 20-minute range for us. But if we need to, we then, like you guys have all said, communicate with commanders as well.
Did you ever get pushback, Joe, when you sent somebody toward the end of shift?
Mm-hmm. We'll send it, and then a commander will call us and say, no, hold that for the next shift. And then the oncoming shift will come on, and their commanders will call us and ask us how come the call wasn't sent out. And then it's like, that's a problem between you guys.
I was thinking there are situations where if I hear a call coming out, I would call the oncoming sergeant directly, so it's not put out over the air.
Oh, nice.
There's no inkling of any kind of, hey, hold that again, because you don't want to add, fuel to any fire or potential fire, and handle it totally off the air. And then I would call if they said, oh yeah, we'll clear one of our units to take the call. And then I would call dispatch and let them, and they can update it. Yeah. So nobody needs to know.
Yeah. I'm going to kick this one over to dispatch. We're going to go to Doug first with this one. It's an interesting one. We'll get a law enforcement's opinion on it. I call it secret squirrel. I don't know what you want to call it, where a law enforcement personnel is working, and all of a sudden they're keying up on the radio, screaming something. They're in the middle of a foot chase, and you don't even have them logged on. You don't know necessarily who it is.
Gosh, here we go.
Flashes and stuff who it is. And they're keying up foot chase, hard to understand, giving you a location. You got to quickly build them in the CAD, try to get them logged on, get the backup units sent, etc. So can you relate to Secret Squirrel first of all? Do you experience that in your dispatching? And then Adam, after they answer that question, maybe share a story about Secret Squirrel. I want you from a law enforcement perspective to maybe give one reason how and why that may happen so we have understanding both ways. Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, we used to have that quite a bit with our undercover people would suddenly come on the radio saying, we're doing this or whatever, a warrant service or whatever. And it used to drive me crazy because we would talk to them after this and say, why are you keeping it secret from us? We're on the same team. I'm almost certain we are. Why would you keep it secret from the people that can send you the right kind of help? So this was an ongoing, for my entire career, 30 years in, was this, some people felt like they could tell us and some people felt like they couldn't tell us. And it was this secret. I hated that stuff. Because like you said, if something's going on, I got to quickly add them to the CAD, build them into this thing so I can get a CAD log going. It took a long time to get rolling. And when something like that's happening, and especially if it's something really hot, there's firing and stuff like that going on, it just doesn't make any sense to me why we can't tell us what's happening out there. So,
and Doug, what would you say the most important thing a dispatcher needs to know to send any call anywhere? What's the number one thing we need to know?
Location and weapons. I mean,
yeah, location.
I've always been so concerned about, because I've been around for enough officers that have been killed or injured, that to me, weapons is such a big call. And if somebody just blows past it and says, do they have any guns? No. What about other things? What about swords and knives and everything else? Or a history of violence or a fight or whatever. I mean, those are things you should know.
Yeah. John, what do you got going on?
We face the same thing, but it's not just with undercover narcotics or any kind of detective. It could be a patrol officer marked in service. Or like you said, even logged off. I think it's more challenging when they're logged off because you got to put them in the system, and some systems are more complex than others. So if they're at least logged on, it's a lot easier. But that just goes to patrol. And some of the times, oftentimes even at night, they're on a tactical channel, which is like the talk around, but it's repeated, and dispatch isn't required all the time to monitor it, but we do. And a lot of stuff starts on that. And then trying to manage the event from that channel and have all the responders on the main channel. Now, fortunately, we can patch the two radio channels together on the fly kind of thing. But I mean, all that, it leads to the answer to your question, Joe, as far as, yeah, it sucks. But but in the end, you know, it's part of the job. And yeah, to answer you, the third question, the primary thing that we need is location in order to send help.
Yeah. And the main reason I tie those two together before we go to Adam, we do experience it as well. And I always try to train the officers that the number one thing we need is your location, you know, and that way we can send help. So if we just know that, if you end up in a foot chase or a car chase or something, at least know where you're at to get people going the right direction. Just at least let us know that at a minimum. Yeah. But Adam, can you give us an example maybe of why once in a while this happens, since it's so common regardless of the agency that you work at?
Yeah, that's I think we've learned at our agency, we've learned from our mistakes, because it's very uncommon now for us. And we've got about 110 officers, unless it's something really unexpected, like, you know, but if it's something planned, they always have a game plan. They always have all the detectives or whoever might be out there, their call signs and where their location is. So it would be pretty rare if somebody just came over the radio and said, hey, I'm in foot pursuit, something completely unexpected. So it used to happen, but recently it's very rare if that were to happen.
Good.
But like I already mentioned here, they might be on a stakeout and something can happen. And then over Channel 1, you would hear, hey, detectives are in foot pursuit on Channel 3, units to respond. But just totally in the blind, I don't think it happens that much. If it does, it's very, very rare.
Congratulations for you guys.
Wow, they're lucky.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we're getting close to our 15 minutes, but I got to get this question out. Yeah, this one is just a number, and you can even give a why. We're going to go back to Adam first, but I'm going to ask Doug and John a slightly different question, but it's the same scale. So Adam, as a responder on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not annoying at all, and 10 being very annoying, How annoying is it when a dispatcher tells you to stand by on the radio and
Ooh.
Oh, God.
It depends. I mean, it depends. I would think, if I'm going on a nothing call, I can stand by. If I'm going on a hot call, I would expect them to answer any kind of question that I might have. But it's all about relationship building, the relationships that you have with the dispatchers. And if you know they're a quality dispatcher that are on top of their game, there's a good reason for them to stay standby. So just be patient and wait, and they know that they're going to get to you as soon as they can. So it's all depends. If it's a real hot call, yeah, there's a little bit more stress. Where I want to know, hey, where's the suspect again, or what is he wearing again, or something like that. If I happen to forget the information, but it depends.
Yep. John, question kind of changes.
Okay.
On the same scale, how annoying is it when a responder asks you if medical and fire are en route to a massive accident with several people injured? And why?
It's probably, I'll go with a 7. It's not the most annoying, but it's like, dude, listen to the radio. I just said accident with injury. Or even if I say it may be an 8 or a 9, if I say respond accident with injury, fireboard also responding, and then the location kind of thing. But other than that, it's like, okay. But it's one of those that doesn't happen often, but when it does, it triggers something. But it's not in every kind of dispatch where both services go together.
And Doug, slightly different question for you. Same scale, 1 to 10. As a dispatcher, how annoying is it when the law enforcement agency keys up and gives you we'll say a warrant check or a driver's license name to run through the NCIC system, and they don't know how the dispatcher types it in, so they say you give last name first, and your system requires first name, or vice versa, or the date of birth, they give a 2-digit, and a 4-digit year when you were supposed to type it in 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day. And how annoying on a scale of 1 to 10 is it when officers give you information that you can't readily type into your system right away?
Yeah, we used to have that a lot when back in the day, but the officers have been getting that unified training where they know how to run stuff and they know how to give it to us in what order. And when I was in charge of our academy, we were training the officers on how to say it to us on our side, which made it nice. I will tell you, I did have a funny one happen though. I had a brand new officer in training. He's driving along. He meant to run the license tag in front of him, but he said, I want the return on a VIN. And I'm like, is he laying on the hood of this car at 100 miles an hour? It's like, and we were like, I don't think you mean a VIN. And it was just funny to us. It was like, and he called later on, apologized, and say, I don't even know what I was saying. I was so nervous. I'm like, but it happens. I mean, it happens on both sides.
Yeah.
We give out stuff. Sometimes it's not the way it should be, and they give out stuff too. So
True.
It's annoying for everybody, but I don't want that kind of stop my whole day going, oh, that's it for this guy. So
right.
It's just, we all make mistakes. Hell, I've had it where I put somebody on standby. To go to your other question, I put them on standby and I forgot to go back to them. And I'm putting out other calls, and the unit's like, do you have time for me, LA? And it's like, oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
When's the tow truck en route as law enforcement's asking us as we forgot to call? Stand by, let me get you the EPA. Quick call.
I'm starting fire rescue for you for the second time.
Well, thanks for joining us, Adam. That's been our episode from We Speak Dispatch on question and answer session with law enforcement. This section is very fun to train around, and make sure you're training with your responders, because when there's reaction and understanding from both people, it becomes a positive experience over the radio. If you would like to be a guest on We Speak Dispatch and join us for a future episode, make sure you email us at wespeakdispatch@gmail.com. We're also posting all of our episodes around the middle of the week on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, so make sure you follow us. And we're on several podcasts, including iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Overcast, Stitcher, Radio Public, and CastBox, and probably your favorite one as well. Everybody have a great day, and we hope to see you again soon on a future episode from We Speak Dispatch.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
Hi, this is Courtney, and you've been listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, proudly sponsored by our friends at Zybex.
911, what's your emergency? This is How can I help you? You find out on medical. 911 emergency, what are you reporting? 911 emergency, what are you reporting? Nine one one emergency. What are you reporting?